He Gets Us is the biggest national effort to raise the respect and relevance of Jesus in our culture. Jesus was fill in the blank. Everybody has an opinion about Jesus, a new campaign that's launched to influence millions to think differently. You may have seen the commercials in the Super Bowls. This is going to be a sustained national conversations. It's going to go on for at least the next 5 years. Hundreds of $millions are being poured into this thing. Christians and faith organizations have an opportunity to learn about it, spread the word, and get involved. The objectives of the campaign: 1, to influence attitudes and perceptions about Jesus. No matter what side of the coin you sit on about the He Gets Us campaign, you cannot deny that it started conversation in our country. It's been one of the most talked about things, and people are actually talking about Jesus. That has caused Christians to reflect Jesus more authentically in how they love others. I was at a bar for Super Bowl. My buddy owns a bar in the Denver area. He invited me over. There were a few hundred people there. Nobody was talking, or nobody was really watching the game. You know, people are eating, they're talking, they're having fun, they're drinking, they're kind of looking at the game, checking it out. When those commercials came on, the bar went silent. Several hundred people going, what is that all about? And here I was wearing this hat, and I had about 30 conversations with people. What is that? Couldn't you guys have spent the money on better things? All sorts of different conversations. So, number 3, help the Christian ecosystem better understand and connect with the culture that it is trying to reach for Christ. So, a couple of things that we do. He Gets Us leverages GLOO, which is the company that I work for, as a one-stop shop to help churches get connected to the campaign and access resources that drive more engagement with their communities. Here's some of our partners: Alpha, YouVersion. There are YouVersion plans that you can direct your people to that are written specifically for this sort of stuff. These are tools that you can get into the hands of your people. Churches that are involved. You can see some of the churches that are already doing things around this and getting involved with providing their people tools to have about these conversations. He Gets Us wants 2 bridges. Number 1, the first bridge: ads, media, public website, thinking of Jesus as fully human, and then we push them to the partners, our churches and Jesus followers who do the work of the evangelism and the discipleship. Much of the pushback that we got on the He Gets Us campaign is like, well, you didn't share the full gospel. That wasn't the point. That's your job. We're trying to equip conversation. We're trying to get people interested in Jesus. And when they go to the website and they go, I need prayer, or I need to talk to somebody, guess who gets that relationship? You get to share them the full gospel. This is a bunch of people who have a ton of money and found some ad agencies to work with. They're not equipped as you to share the gospel with these people. They want to give you the opportunity to do so. He Gets Us was voted number 8, the Love Like Children one, and the Jesus Love the People We Hate, number 15. By the way, that one rocked me when I saw that one, because it's easy to say Jesus loved people who hated him, but to say Jesus loved the people I hate, that was like a gut punch for me. Had the most mentions of any Super Bowl ad, according to Adweek. It was also one of the big winners by Adweek. They said the entertainment, Warner Brothers, Walt Disney, Live Nation, retailers, but Jesus was a big one. It was the number 1 ad by brand across the United States. All the states with black dots is where it was the most mentioned ad by state, according to things like Twitter, social media. Jesus has been entered into the conversation. Here's my question. Whether you agree with it or not, what tools are you giving your people to have conversations about Jesus? Because they're having them, because this is being mentioned. We had one pastor outside of Kansas City, being covered by every major news outlet. One pastor by Kansas City, I loved it. My buddy works at the church. He said, my pastor talked about He Gets Us. They got involved in the He Gets Us campaign. Some people gave him pushback. This feels like woke Jesus. This feels like it has an agenda. Couldn't they have done better things with their money? And I can address all those if you have concerns about those, like all day long. Here's what he said. Would I have worded some things differently? Yes. Are we financially supporting them? No. Well, why would they? They already got a ton of money. But if one person is going to see one of those ads and go, I need prayer, and that person has the opportunity to end up in my lap, I want to be the one to build the relationship. Churches go into this thinking that they're going to have a ton of people show up on their campus on Sunday. That's not the way it works, because people respond in a moment of felt need. You as the church get to build that bridge and get to build that trust. We had a church that was texting with a lady ongoing for 3 months, and she only ever responded like twice, yes and no, but she never said stop. So they put it into their church management database and followed up with her like a couple weeks later. She texted in one morning at 2 a.m. Luckily, they had a volunteer team. One of the guys worked the night shift and said, hey, I'll have it on my phone, and if anybody comes in, direct them to me if they're coming overnight. He gets this text from this lady through the church's phone number at 2 a.m. She's going on, she just kind of came down off of a bender, was like suicidal, thinking about that she wanted to take her life. And he said, hey, I just want you to know I'm praying for you right now. She got that text back at 2:30 in the morning because this guy was working the overnights. And then he said, hey, I just want you to know we have something in my church called Celebrate Recovery. I go. It's where I find hope, healing, help. He invited her. She showed up on Saturday. She hasn't missed a Sunday since. Long-term relationship building. Just a cool cartoon. Sure, it's controversial, but maybe there are people who will bring it back to church. Can I count this as going to church right now? Like, that's the way our culture thinks right now, right? But there is an opportunity to engage with those folks. This is the traffic we saw in 1 minute after the Super Bowl ads. Just some cool stories that we've had. The engagement, 974 total live chats in a week, 450 prayer requests. We connected over 3,000 people to churches in that week after the Super Bowl. Super Bowl fans texted in 36,000. Total SMS messages sent and received Super Bowl weekend, over 150,000 text messages. We went from 50,000 people exploring the Super Bowl on YouVersion, doing the reading plans, to 169 accounts after the Super Bowl. So what's ahead? There's plenty of stuff going on in the He Gets Us calendar. We're here right after the big game, the Third Way. There are Third Way resources if your church wanted to take advantage of those. Sacrifice around Easter, and then what do we need next moving forward? So you'll see ones about the sacrifice of Jesus. Running now, this is in Las Vegas and in Times Square, or those both? No, those are both Vegas. So different ads from the Super Bowl commercials. So just a little bit of info about that. You know, the question, couldn't they have done something better with their money? This is a big one that comes up. We already addressed the full gospel one. I know who some of these donors are. The only one that's really come public is Steve Green from Hobby Lobby. He gave an interview and said, yeah, I'm if I can promote the name of Jesus in our country, I will. I know who a lot of them are. And I guarantee you they're doing a lot more than you or I. I had this conversation with my buddy who was doing the podcast. Well, they could have done so much more. I said, dude, trust me, they're doing way more than you and I are doing with their money to address homelessness and poverty and hunger and all that sort of stuff. And he goes, well, you don't know what I do. And I said, dude, exactly my point. You don't know what they do. They are doing things. And they got together and said, hey, there's the Servant Foundation out of Kansas City said, hey, do you guys want to help us inject Jesus into the national conversation? Yeah, I'll pony up for that. $1 million, $5 million, $10 million is nothing to some of these people. Steve Green funded the Bible Museum in Washington, D.C. out of his own pocket. If you haven't been, it's phenomenal. It'll blow your mind. It's a good trip. Anyways, all that to say, we can help you with resources. Max Lucado heard what we were doing. He said, hey, how can I help? We said, hey, we got these Super Bowl commercials coming up. Can you write us a book? 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, this hit. I got a ton of them. Thomas Nelson's going to try and sell them on Amazon and bookstores for $15. You can get them for free. If I have leftovers, take some and give them away. I wear this hat when I go through the airport. I wear this hat when I go to coffee shops. I wish I had time to tell you the stories that I have been able to engage simply because they go, hey, are you part of that? Yeah. Because I've been able to represent He Gets Us all over the place. I carry these in my backpack and I just give them to people. And I've write my number in them. If any questions, give me a call. I didn't do that in years. I don't need you calling me. But it's an awesome conversation starter. On the He Gets Us website, people can order shirts, hats, stickers, water bottles for free, including shipping, because they just want Jesus to be brought up in conversation. And the whole hope is that we have thousands and thousands of churches across this country who are using this opportunity to give their people tools to have a conversation about Jesus that would lead them into relationship and hopefully fill the seats of your churches where you can do the hard work of evangelism and discipleship. That's why I love this, because it's simply that first step, and they leave the rest up to you to do what you've been called to do.